Okay. Some common verbal phrases can be found on page 6 in the key concept box in your book. And you can see I've actually got a screen capture of that there at the top of the page. And what it does is it gives you common verbal phrases that mean the different kinds of operations that we're used to: add, subtract, multiply, divide. We also talked about exponent, saying to the power of, or you could use squared or cubed. All of those work. But when you're these verbal phrases are important whether you're translating from an algebraic expression to a verbal phrase, or from a verbal phrase to an algebraic expression. And we're going to start out practicing those things. There are some tricky bits in here, and the tricky bits mostly come from subtraction. So if you ever have one of the subtracting ones, really stop for a second and make sure that you know what's going on. And I'll probably do an example for you here. So I'm going to write algebraic expressions. This is example 2. Write an algebraic expression for each verbal expression. A number t more than 6. Now, the first part I want to talk about here is when it says a number. Because it doesn't give you a very specific number, that should mean variable. Okay? That's what we're going to be working with here. And it doesn't matter what variable you choose unless it specifically tells you. And it does. It wants to use the variable t. So a variable t, and it's more than 6. So if I said I have 2 more than 7, it would be 7 plus 2. 2 more than 7. This is the one you kind of read it backwards. Notice they're not just saying 7 plus 2 or 6 plus a number t. This is the fancier version of it. When they're talking about more than, what became before it is actually the second part of it. So t more than 6 is 6 plus t. Now, it's not the end of the world if you get them reversed because it's addition, but it will matter if that was subtraction. If we had a number less than 5, so the a number is a variable, we'll just call it x, and it has to be less than 5. So it's 5 minus x. It would have to be in reverse there. So where it doesn't really matter so much with addition, it really matters with subtraction. Because 5 minus x, let's say it's 2, 5 minus 2 is 3. If I hadn't written that expression correctly, I would have had 2 minus 5, which would be negative 3. And 3 and negative 3 are definitely not equal to each other. So when you're doing these things here, really make sure you're paying attention when it's one of the subtraction. Division is also another one that the order really matters, but subtraction is usually the trickiest wording one. All right. Oh, look, the next one is a subtraction problem because I see it's 10 less than. So 10 less than, when I see that expression right there, I know I'm going to be subtracting 10 from somewhere. The product of z and f. Well, product means multiply. Sorry, I said z and f. I think I should have said 7 and f because that is what is written down there. So again, like I said, 10 less than, that means that it's got to be the second part. If it just said 10 minus 7, the product of 7 and f, then you would just have 10 minus 7 times f. But here, because it says 10 less than, we have to have the minus 10 in the second part. 2/3 is a expression that, or a wording that means fraction. 2/3. And when I see of the volume, now of usually means multiply, but not always. So you have to be really careful and kind of understand what's happening here. And this really comes from experience and reading lots of questions. 2/3 of the volume of V really means 2/3 times the volume of V. And notice I'm not going to put any sort of dot or anything in here because it wasn't convenient for me to do it this time. So you just have to be careful with the of the part, because the of, you'll see it all over the place. You have to kind of understand the context of the word, of the sentence that you're reading, to know which one it is. And that really only just comes from experience. So let me box up my answers here. And 6 plus t. All right. Now, okay. I'm going to stop this video again because the first video was kind of long, and then we'll do the very last example.